Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to the channel. Before you scroll past this one, hit that subscribe button because MONSTIEZ, today we are peeling back a layer of Chiquita that almost nobody talks about. Not the stage presence, not the visuals, not the choreography that makes jaws drop every single show. We are talking about the version of Chiquita that exists off camera, in the quiet moments between rehearsals and world tour stops, and honestly, it might be the most endearing thing you learn about her all year. Everyone knows Chiquita as the powerhouse. The girl who commands a stage like she was born for it. The one YG Entertainment fast-tracked into BABYMONSTER after a viral pre-debut clip sent the internet into a frenzy. The one Hyun Suk himself compared to Lisa before she had even debuted. That reputation is not going anywhere. But behind the confidence, behind the sharp lines and the fierce expressions during Worth It, there's a softer, quieter Chiquita, and it starts with something as simple as what she likes to eat. According to her official profile facts, Chiquita has a genuine soft spot for smoked quail eggs. Not regular eggs. Quail eggs smoked. It is such a specific craving that it almost feels like a little signature, the kind of detail that tells you someone has very particular taste buds and is not shy about it. Pair that with her love for chocolate ice cream, which honestly might be the most universally relatable food preference any idol has ever had, and you start to get a picture of someone who balances the unexpected with the comforting. And then there are mandarin oranges, which rounds out her favorites into this strange, but oddly perfect trio. Something savory and smoky, something sweet and indulgent, and something light and refreshing. If you think about it, that combination kind of mirrors her whole artistic identity. Chiquita on stage is intense and smoky, like that quail egg. Off stage in interviews, she can be sweet and warm, like the chocolate ice cream. And then there is this refreshing, effortless charisma to her, like biting into a mandarin orange on a good day. But here is a detail that makes her food preferences even more endearing. Chiquita also has a well-known weakness for ramen, specifically the spicier stir-fried kind, and according to profile facts that have circulated among fans, her own mother actually tried to ban her from eating it too often because she was overindulging. And true to her personality, Chiquita reportedly kept sneaking it anyway. There is something almost universally relatable about that. Here is a global performer, someone selling out arenas across an entire world tour, and at home, she is still just a teenager finding ways to sneak a late-night bowl of spicy ramen past her mom's rules. It is such a small, human detail, but it says a lot about how Chiquita balances discipline on stage with stubborn, playful cravings off of it. Now here is where it gets even more interesting, and this is the part that tends to catch even long-time MONSTIEZ off guard. Chiquita, the same performer who owns arenas full of tens of thousands of screaming fans during the CHOM World Tour, is apparently a massive doll and plushie collector. Her room, described repeatedly in official profile facts as full of bright colors, is filled with dolls and plushies. Not one or two on a shelf for decoration. A whole collection, the kind that takes years to build because you cannot resist picking up just one more every time you see something cute. Interestingly, that room is not even hers alone. Chiquita reportedly shares her dorm room with a Hyun, which means somewhere in that space, surrounded by bright colors and soft plushies. Two of BABYMONSTER's members have built a little world that looks nothing like the arenas they perform in every night. Stop and sit with that for a second, because the contrast is almost cinematic. This is a girl who, just weeks ago, was on stage in Kobe at GLION Arena delivering vocals and stage presence strong enough to make headlines. This is someone whose fashion choices get picked apart and praised by Vogue Hong Kong, someone who has been styled for a Balenciaga editorial, someone whose viral slipper moment and up-kono appearance had fans talking for days. And yet, when the cameras stop rolling and she goes home, she is surrounded by soft, wide-eyed, huggable dolls in a room that probably looks nothing like the fierce persona she carries in Worth It or in the group's tour visuals. That contradiction, if you can even call it that, is exactly why idols like Chiquita end up being so compelling to watch long-term. It is not just about the performance. It is about discovering that the person behind the performance still finds comfort in something as simple and childlike as a doll collection. It humanizes her in a way that 1,000 stage clips cannot. You see her destroy a dance break with Rora during Havana rehearsals. You see her trade vocal runs with a Hyeon during Problem. And then you hear this one small detail about dolls filling her room, and suddenly she does not feel like an untouchable idol anymore. She feels like someone you could actually know. It also lines up with something fans have noticed about her personality outside of the doll collection entirely. Chiquita has been described as deeply affectionate with her members, someone who genuinely enjoys skinship and physical closeness with the people around her. She has also been called a night owl, reportedly the last member to wake up in the mornings, which according to a Hyeon means she has to set an unreasonable number of alarms just to function on schedule. None of that sounds like the image of a fierce, untouchable Magne. It sounds like a teenager who happens to also be one of the most talked about rising stars in fifth-generation K-pop. And if we are being honest, this kind of detail also explains a lot about the way Chiquita interacts with her members. Fans have picked up on the closeness between her and a Hyeon, the dynamic MONSTIEZ affectionately called Chian, and there is something about knowing she has this gentle, nurturing side that makes those interactions land differently. Someone who surrounds herself with soft things at home is probably the same someone who checks in on her members backstage, who notices when someone needs comfort after a long day of tour rehearsals. It is a small thread, but once you notice it, you cannot unsee it in the way she carries herself around the rest of BABYMONSTER. Here is the retention hook worth sticking around for, though, because there is a layer to this that most casual viewers miss entirely. Idols who grew up training under intense, high-pressure systems like YG often develop these very specific, very personal comfort habits, almost like anchors. A doll collection is not just a hobby. For a trainee who spent years perfecting choreography, vocals, and stage presence under constant evaluation, something like collecting dolls can become a private ritual, a way to hold on to softness in an industry that demands hardness. When you frame it that way, Chiquita's room full of dolls is not just a cute fun fact. It is a quiet act of self-care that she has carried with her from her pre-debut days all the way through a sold-out world tour. Think about the timeline here too. This is a girl who went from a viral pre-debut clip to being fast-tracked by YG, who then had to adjust to Young Hyun-suk publicly setting sky-high expectations for her, comparing her rise to Lisa's, who then had to prove herself night after night on the CHOM World Tour across Seoul's Jamsil shows and Kobe's GLION Arena. That is an enormous amount of pressure for anyone, let alone someone still building their identity as a performer. And through all of that, she has apparently kept the same simple joys close by. Smoked quail eggs after a long day. Chocolate ice cream as a treat. Mandarin oranges as a light snack between schedules. And a room of dolls waiting for her whenever she gets a break to actually be home. It also says something about how fans have responded to these details once they started circulating. Comments across social media have described the doll collection detail as unexpectedly wholesome, with some noting it feels very in character for someone who, despite her fierce stage presence, has also shown moments of visible warmth and playfulness in behind-the-scenes content. Others have pointed out that food preferences like hers, specific but not extravagant, feel refreshingly down-to-earth for someone whose career has been anything but ordinary this past year. At the end of the day, MONSTIEZ, this is exactly the kind of detail that turns a favorite idol into someone you genuinely root for. Chiquita is going to keep making headlines for her stage presence, for her fashion, for her chemistry with Rora and a Hyeon, for whatever comes next in this CHOM era. But now, every time you watch her command a stage, maybe you will also picture that room full of dolls waiting for her back home, and a bowl of mandarin oranges on the table. It is the small stuff that makes the biggest impact sometimes. If this gave you a whole new appreciation for Chiquita, let us know in the comments what surprised you the most, the food or the dolls. And if you want more deep dives like this into BABYMONSTER's personalities beyond the stage, make sure you are subscribed, because there is a lot more of this untold side still waiting to be uncovered. Annyeong!